Okay, finally we are going to design this upper right bar here within our scene. And a couple of ways that we could do that. We have our saved scene open, and we could certainly design right within this scene. Save it off as an object like we did last video. However, I'm going to do it a little bit different this time, again, just to show you a variation of how you can use Vizrt. I'm going to create a new scene here. This is going to be our upper right part. And again, I want to hit OK. So this time, here's our scene preview that we just created. I need to double click it to make sure that it is open now. And I'm going to go into my scene this time. I'm going to make sure that I'm in the classic render mode to begin with. Then I'm going to go back into my eye tab. I'm going to use one of these as an image as a background. I'm going to select my background settings here. I'm going to look for this background box. I'm going to slide any type of image in there into that background so that we can use it as a reference. Now, we've used a rectangle for our lower third. We used a Nagi for the breaking news, and now we can use something else. We could use those two plugins, a Nagi or a rectangle, but we also have another option here, a cube. It would be somewhat similar to it as well. And this is our first 3D object that we're using, but it kind of works the same as a rectangle. We have a size X, and we have a size Y. We also have a size Z, which is the depth of it. So I'm just going to decrease the depth all the way down to 1 or 2, something very small. And I can grab this rectangle within the scene editor here, place it above my reference to see how wide we want to do. And I'm going to use the size X to adjust the size of that rectangle. And width-wise, or height-wise, let's type it 45, and we'll be pretty equal to the background. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Finally, I'm going to use the bevel of our rectangle here and turn on the rounded bevel. And I'm going to turn on the adaptive tessellation so that when I come over here and increase the bevel, it will start to round the corners. Now, the problem or issue is that you just have to take into account we lowered our Z-space so much that may not happen. So we just may need to increase the Z-space just a little bit, and we can start to see the rounding of the corners there. So this bar was red, and that means the cube doesn't have its own built-in color maker, so we would need to use a material. So I'm going to go back into the M tab, look for my red, and I'm going to slide it up on to that cube. Now I'm ready to just copy that cube, so I'm going to hold down Control, click, and drag, and that copies it. This is going to be our white. So if I want to come over and just change the color of my material, I can do it that way, or I could just slide that red material off to make it completely white. Now I want to decrease the size X, and I want to move the position over here just to place it where we might need it. I'm going to go ahead and turn this background image off and then work with the cube here just to get this design where we roughly want it. So it's looking a little bit closer there, and if I needed to back off maybe the bevel and or the size Z of the cube just to get it to match a little bit better, I'm not going to worry about it too much. We'll place the bevel at 2 for each one. Okay, it's close enough, and I'm going to go over here. I'm going to group this container by clicking on the G tab. I'm going to slide my 2 containers within that group. Now, since they are 3D, they are rectangles. If I come over to the group here, and if I were to rotate this around, you would see that it is true 3D. So we could do all types of things with this animation once we go to do that. Finally, we would need to add some text here. So again, I would go into my font folder. I would search for a folder where I have the fonts, the classic fonts. So here's my folder. I'm going to go ahead and slide a font up here. And whatever we need to type in here, we can. So we'll put like on location. And it's just a matter of scaling down and repositioning the text. One thing you do need to be careful about this time is that the cube is 3D, so you may need to bring your text further up into Z-space so that it doesn't interfere or intersect with the 3D object of the cube. So let's leave it something like that. We'll use one more font here and we'll slide that up And we'll go into that font. We want to change the color of this one. So we'll come down into the color. We'll turn that on. And we'll change the color to this particular font to black. And we'll slide it up over top of the white. And again, we need to adjust the Z position. So here we'll come over to the Z position, move it forward, and then we'll go into the text and retype our text. Maybe we want this to say live. We'll scale this down and just place it where it needs to go, roughly. Okay, so that's roughly how we would build an upper right. Now, lots of different ways you could do it. We did it fairly simply, fairly quickly, and you could sit here and adjust these colors, shading, everything all day if you want. We're not going to do that. We're going to move on. And just to let you know, one thing with the cube is that it looks very flat. So if you did want some shading, two ways you could do that. You could use some of your materials by changing some of this, by changing some of the colors within our material here. We might be able to pick up some shading on it, and or we could use some type of image. So if we go into our asset view and our eye tab, and if we wanted to combine an image with a color for a texture, we kind of could. So we have this gradient texture here. We could click on that image, we dragged it onto that box, and we have a mapping mode down here, and we could adjust the different mapping settings. So I have it scaling, so I could scale this out and or scale it down, and then we have a different type of shading on that. We could do a lot of things with this. We could adjust the position, rotation, scaling of it. We could change it to linear, to reflection. I'm just going to keep mine on linear. So a lot of different variations that you could do here with your texture or color of the upper right. I'm just going to leave mine as it is. I'm going to hit save, and we're going to move on to the lower right, or the time clock for the lower third.